Most people will agree that textbooks are usually not a strict requirement for medical school these days. This is because we learn most of our course content from the lecture materials. These lecture notes or slides will be tailored to your school's syllabus and teaching sequence. Nevertheless, textbooks are great reference materials as they help you consolidate the information that you have about certain topics, especially in situations where you don't understand these topics much after listening to lectures. It will allow you to learn and internalize the information at far greater depth than just going to lectures and reading the notes afterwards. Therefore, while some students may feel that studying lecture notes alone is sufficient for their learning needs, it is generally not enough to rely solely on them, as they may not provide in-depth explanations, diagrams, and additional context that can be essential for a thorough understanding of medical concepts. Hello there, this is MedZone TV, home to medical school excellence. MedZone TV is an online medical community that presents you with a series of well-packed activities ranging from captivating stories, top-notch medical contents, fascinating videos, quizzes, monthly challenges, and a lot more you can't afford to miss. In today's video, we'll be discussing the best medical textbooks for medical students. This list was carefully chosen after consulting hundreds of resources and opinions ranging from medical schools book list to articles, reviews, and medical students' experiences. One main textbook is listed for each broad category, such as anatomy, physiology, and biochemistry. And of course, what's best may be subjective, so popular alternatives have been included for consideration. So without further ado, let's dive into our top recommendations. Please sit back, relax, and listen. Starting with anatomy. Anatomy is a course that is divided into 4 subsections, namely gross anatomy, histology, embryology, and neuroanatomy. Each of these subsections would require at least one textbook to gain a deeper understanding of the intricacies of anatomy. For gross anatomy, the most widely accepted textbook in the country is Clinically Oriented Anatomy by Kit Moore. This textbook is immensely popular amongst medical students. It contains clean diagrams and interesting information within each chapter about injuries and diseases related to the body parts being covered. The organization of the book requires some getting used to, as the book is organized in anatomical regions such as head, neck, thorax, and upper and lower limb, and not by organ system. Clinically Oriented Anatomy by Kit Moore is a huge book. It's like 1,000 or so pages long, so you need to keep that in mind if you are going to carry it around with you to every class. The tables that show all the innervation, attachments, and actions of muscles, as well as the blue box clinical correlates, are gold. It is a great book, and I would recommend this book for medical students. Another excellent resource for gross anatomy is BD Cheruza. Whether it is overrated or not depends on who you talk to, but it is an excellent book to prepare for exams with. At the start of the semester or session, plenty of people would badmouth it, but towards the end of the semester, the very same people who badmouthed it will have their noses buried in it. Other popular alternatives for studying anatomy are Last Anatomy and Vishram. I can't say much about these books because I haven't read them, but I hear they are good books and everything is given point-wise. Now, in addition to having one of these books, having an atlas is very necessary and should be used while reading gross anatomy, as it helps students visualize anatomical structures and understand their clinical relevance. Visual aids are invaluable in anatomy, and Netter's Atlas of Human Anatomy has simply the best anatomical diagrams. It's a renowned textbook for its exceptional illustrations, and while there are other options, Netter's is favored by most people. Moving on, histology or microscopic anatomy is another very important part of anatomy. This subsection of anatomy introduces medical students to the basic tissue types found in the human body, such as epithelial tissues, connective tissues, muscle, and nervous tissues. Students learn to identify these tissues, and this knowledge forms the basis for the understanding of the human body at different levels of organization. Our first recommendation is John Quira's Basic Histology. This textbook is an amazing book with high-quality micrographs and accompanying graphics. It is the most widely recognized of all histology textbooks with in-depth coverage of histological concepts and sufficient illustrations, but to be honest, I personally didn't use it much. I used another popular alternative known as Witter's Functional Histology, which is just as good as John Quira's. It is organized in a similar fashion, covering the cell, basic tissue types, and organ systems. An advantage is that the test is slightly more concise and summarized when compared to John Quira's. Another good alternative to John Quira's and Witter's Functional Histology with similar organization of content is MBBS's Textbook of Human Histology. Moving on, another subsection of anatomy that requires a textbook is embryology. This subsection of anatomy is a crucial subject as it provides the foundation for understanding the development of the human body. Sadler's embryology is pretty much the gold standard in many medical schools as it covers everything you need to know and more. It is widely recommended in many medical colleges as the diagrams are adequate, the test is not bulky, and is pretty easy to understand. Another popular alternative is The Developing Human by Kate Moore. Just like the Langman's Medical Embryology, the first few chapters cover the stages of embryonic development, and the later chapters dive into the various organ systems of the body. Moving on to neuroanatomy, there are two major textbooks for this particular subsection of anatomy, which are Clinical Neuroanatomy Textbook by Richard S. Snell and the DeBisse's Textbook of Human Neuroanatomy. Both textbooks are pretty easy to understand and have all the contents needed to impress an examiner in an exam. I personally used Snell's Neuroanatomy textbook when I was preparing for my MBBS professional exam, so I would personally recommend this textbook for medical students. If you are still watching this video at this point and probably finding it helpful, please consider giving this video a thumbs up and subscribing to our YouTube channel. Moving on, when it comes to physiology, the most common tactic used by many medical students is to combine 2 or 3 textbooks. This is because there are a lot of textbooks in medical physiology, and some are more detailed than others, while some are much more easier to follow than others. During your first few months in your second year, you will get to learn about different physiology textbooks from different people. My advice to you is, stick with Guyton and Hall and Sembolinga. Combine Essentials of Medical Physiology by K. Sembolinga and Guyton and Hall Textbook of Medical Physiology. Sembolinga comes in very simple language and has a lot of flowcharts which helps very much in achieving good grades in exams. Guyton, on the other hand, is a very sweet book which will explain things to you with generous use of words and will help you develop strong concepts that will build your foundation in physiology. It is widely recognized as the standard textbook for physiology. In fact, it is sometimes called the Bible of physiology. If you are using only this book for exam preparation, you must be consistent in your studies because the content is quite vast and requires a lot of time to finish. Other physiology textbooks are Gannon's Review of Medical Physiology, Izilu's Textbook of Physiology, and Constanzo's Physiology. Gannon has loads of information, but it can be quite difficult to absorb the information, and it is most often used as a reference book for postgraduate exams. There are some other lovely physiology textbooks other than the ones I already mentioned, but my advice to you is, save yourself the stress and choose Guyton and Hall and Sembolinga and stick with the both of them. Finally, moving on to biochemistry. I know most people hate biochemistry, but the problem is not with the subject, the problem is time. We don't give enough time to biochemistry. The truth is, more often than not, biochemistry is the most neglected course in second year. The reason is because anatomy consumes all of our time, and then we give what's left of our time to physiology. Thus, we end up reading it only a few days before the exam. For biochemistry books, there are several books available for studying biochemistry, but my personal favorite is Vasudevan. It's easy to understand and it is exam friendly. It gives you the required information in the most compressed format with neat presentation. This book is beautifully written. If you set your mind and study with this book, you will understand nearly all the concepts in biochemistry. I don't want to hype the textbook too much, but Vasudevan is more than enough. I know quite a number of persons who have gotten really great scores in their examination from reading just Vasudevan. Other popular alternatives are Harper's Illustrated Biochemistry, Olympicot, and Satire. But believe me, Vasudevan is more than enough. You can use Harper's or Olympicot for reference since both books are very good books, but keep Vasudevan as your reference book. And there you have it, our top recommendations for the best medical textbooks for anatomy, physiology, and biochemistry. There will be a second part of this video for clinical textbooks recommendations. Remember, these are just a few of the many great textbooks available. Searching up more reviews does not do any good. Save yourself the stress and choose at least one textbook from our top recommendations and stick with it. If you just follow the list without even considering the alternatives, you would be good to go. Thank you so much for staying with us to the end of this video. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more informative content. If you have any questions or suggestions, please feel free to leave them in the comments below. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.